Welcome to Click for Biology. In this video, we're going to be looking at the process of synaptic transmission, where two nerve cells are communicating with each other. In my diagram, I'm showing two such nerve cells, and you can see that the basic plan of a cell, which we would traditionally draw like so, that the structure shown here is clearly indicating an increase in the surface area. And these structures, called dendrites, are extensions of the cytoplasm with membrane around it, and the purpose is to allow them to connect to other nerve cells. So it is possible for nerve cells to connect together, and so we get nerve to nerve junctions. It is actually also possible, as we looked at in the reflex, to have a nerve connecting to a receptor or a nerve connecting to an effector, such as a muscle. But here we will focus on two nerves communicating with each other. The extensions of the cytoplasm like so, which as you can see labeled here as dendrites, is referring to these very fine connections which come close to each other. And I've drawn that slightly larger here again. And so what we're going to be looking at in this video is how the nerve impulse which travels along here ends up traveling down to the end of the dendrite. And we wish to pass this nerve impulse to the next nerve cell, and so it will connect with another dendrite on this side, and there will be a transmission across this gap. Now this gap is called the synaptic cleft, where the ends of the dendrites are increased in size like so, and even the other side, the recepting side, will be the same. And we're looking at the transmission across this gap, which turns out to be a chemical diffusion. Okay, so let's look at that in a lot more detail with a high power resolution. We're looking on the much higher power now at the structures here. And there's the first nerve here. This is the second nerve here. Normally we refer to the membrane of the first nerve. We call that the presynaptic membrane. And the second nerve is referred to as the postsynaptic membrane. And as you'll recall, I mentioned that there will be a chemical diffusing across this gap here. And that gap, of course, is the synaptic cleft. So I'm going to go through the sequence of events, which starts on this side at number 1 with a nerve impulse at number 1. And this is traveling down the inside of the axon. It's actually a wave of sodium ions, like a high concentration of sodium ions diffusing down the inside of the axon towards the ending here. And then what we're trying to do is we're trying to recreate that nerve impulse in the second nerve. So we end up with a nerve impulse here traveling down this axon here. So as I mentioned, the first thing is the wave of sodium ions, the nerve impulse traveling down here. Now that then causes changes in the membrane at the end of the dendrite, and that results in a wave of calcium ions suddenly flooding into the ending of the nerve. This calcium, so that's number 2. The third event is that vesicles, tiny vesicles filled with a chemical, are going to make their way to the cell membrane, like so, and in fact will fuse with that membrane, emptying their contents into the synaptic cleft. Now you can see that the vesicles, which I have identified, have got the letters A, C, H there. It actually stands for acetylcholine. But we should think of this as what's called a neurotransmitter substance. I'll just put SUB for that. That's an M there, by the way. So this neurotransmitter substance then diffuses across this tiny gap, and because the distance is very small, we have a very high very short diffusion time. It's very fast. And on the far side, where the postsynaptic membrane is, there is a receptor molecule which only detects acetylcholine. Now, with the detector activated, this creates in the second nerve impulse, which is another sodium wave, and that takes off down that part of the nerve there, down its dendrites and its axons, to be then passed on to other nerve cells. And this is how transmission occurs between different nerve cells in our nervous system. Synaptic transmission. In the next video, we're going to go on to look at the eye, a receptor, and its ability to detect light, its ability to respond to changes in light intensity. So there's the link there to that video, and of course, as always, the chance to subscribe if you have not already done so.